Shaitan Mardud. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin in the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Most Merciful. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر. They ask thee regarding wine and gambling. قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس. Say, in both is a great sin and some benefit for people. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. But the sin of them is greater than their benefit. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. And they ask thee as to what they shall spend. قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. Say, whatever is surplus to your needs, extra, additional. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. Thus does Allah explain to you His commands so that you may ponder. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر. We are reading verse number 219 of Surah Baqarah. Some questions are being mentioned, their answers are given. These matters and questions started after Laysal Birran Tuwallu. And this is the 15th mas'ala which is being mentioned from their Qisas, Siyam, Hajj, Qital, some questions. So it follows the questions that were going. Previously, Tafsir Nasafi says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the instruction of Jihad fi sabilillah. Inna alladhina amanu walladhina hajaru wa jahadu fi sabilillahi ulaika yarjuna rahmatallah. Those who have Iman and who migrate and who strive in the path of Allah, they are the ones hoping for the rahmat of Allah, and Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. Now, in Jihad fi sabilillah, there is spending of one's wealth, and there is togetherness among the people, regrouping among them. Now, the opposite of that is wine and gambling, because in wine and gambling there is squandering of wealth, and they both create nafrat and discord and fights and arguments among people. So Allah is mentioning you should spend where you're going to get thawab fi sabilillah and avoid where you're going to get sin, and that is in wine and gambling. So first is يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They ask you regarding khamr and maisir. Who asked this question? Mufassirin say this question was put forward to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam by none other than Sayyiduna Umar ibn al-Khattab and Sayyiduna Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhuma. And this surah is Madani surah, and Surah Baqarah was revealed in the earlier days of Madani life. Now, at that time, khamr had not yet been made haram. It was still legal, allowed, lawful. Now, we see over here that in many cases, Islamic injunctions are not given instantly, they were given gradually. Gradual process. Allah took Sahaba through that gradual process before giving the final instructions. One such example is of the prohibition related to wine. There are 4 ayat connected to wine. One is in Surah An-Nahl, which is a Makki surah, 14th Sipara, Where Allah talks about mashrubat, drinks we take, Allah talks about sweet water sent down from the rain. Allah talks about milk which is produced from the udders of animals. And then Allah talks about juices. And among those juices, Allah indicates towards wine. ومن ثمرات النخيل والأعناب تتخذون منه سكرا ورزقا حسنا. From the fruits of the dates and grapes, you make some intoxicants and some beautiful rizq, meaning beautiful juice. Who gave you the kajur and the grapes? Allah. And you make from them beautiful, tasty juices. Grape juice is very nice and sweet and tasty. And you make wine as well. Allah didn't mention any hukm. He said you make from there sakar, intoxicant, and you make rizqi hasan as well. Because it's Makki Surah. Now, many Sahaba did not used to drink intoxicants even before Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never touched any alcohol, any intoxicant, any wine, any beer, anything before Islam. 40 years of his life, they can't put a finger on his characters. Everybody else was drinking it. Rasul never drank it. Many Sahabas never drank it either. Like Sayyiduna Abu Zar Ghifari radiyallahu anhu, Ja'far Tayyar radiyallahu anhu. Tafseer Nasafi states that once Jibreel Amin alayhi salam came to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam and said that indeed Allah loves Ja'far for 4 reasons. And Nabi Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked Ja'far, what are the 4 reasons? You tell me. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, one is that I never bowed down before an idol, even before Islam. And I never committed zina. And I never drank any alcohol. And I never lied to anyone. Because I know lying is shame. It's bad. So with regard khamr, he said, I never drank khamr. So many Sahabas, they used to avoid khamr even before embracing Islam, even before, hijrat and migration. This is the first ayah. When Nabi Pak sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to Medina Sharif, then he was asked this question about khamr and maisir, and Allah revealed this ayat. What did Allah say in here? فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. There is a great sin and little bit of benefit in there for people. Great sin because once you drink something that is intoxicating, it obscures your mind, it covers your intellect, and then you do things which you would not normally do under normal circumstances. Perhaps swearing, abusing, insulting other people, fighting, throwing bottles and glasses at other people, chairs at other people, and then you do things, stupid things, like urinating, vomiting, defecating. Taxi drivers have huge problems with those who are drunk. So there is a lot of sin in there. All these things are sins. Allah said, فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. There is great sin in there. And وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِن نَفْعِهِمَا. There is a little bit of benefit in there as well. Because if you drink it, you get a buzz out of it. You get a boost. You feel you're energetic. You can do anything. And if your body is cold and you put up a pint, the body will be heated up. This is why we see even in the cold outside, right, in baraf and snow, these guriyas are doing brickwork, and they're wearing very light clothing, and they're working really hard. And in the midday, they just get down, have a pint, and back to work. They don't feel the cold, हालांकि कपड़े भी बराबर नहीं, पीछे डगरी भी नजर आ रही है, लेकिन वो काम कर रहा है बराबर. तो he heats up the body, and then it creates excitement, sexual excitement, pleasure as well. So there are some benefits in there. So Allah said, yes, there is some benefit. There is no denying of the benefit. But when you evaluate the benefit and the harm, then the harm outweighs the benefit. The harm is greater in this dunya and in akhirah. In this dunya, you will be looked down upon by people, and you will, harm yourself. Tafsir Nasafi states that um, Abbas ibn Mirdas al-Aslami, in the time of Jahiliyyah, was asked, why don't you drink alcohol? And he said that I don't want to lose my intellect and lose my honor and disrespect myself. Because when I drink it, then I'll do things which I would not normally do. And I am the leader of my community. How can I do such stupid, foolish things and degrade myself? That's why I don't drink alcohol. So there is the bad name in dunya. Drunkies, nobody like drunk people. And in akhirat, there is lots of wa'id and warning in the hereafter for those who drink alcohol. Oh, great warning, great warning. Allah, Allah. If a person dies and he is stubborn on drinking alcohol, he is persistent and insistent on drinking it, right, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compel him to drink from radghatul khabal. What is radghatul khabal? Usaratu ahlin nar. The blood and the pus and the sewage of the people of Jahannam is radghatul khabal. Allah will say, go drink from there, because you used to drink alcohol in dunya. Whoever drinks alcohol, then Allah will not accept his namaz for 40 days. That's if he prays. If he does tawbah, Allah will accept his tawbah. But then if after a few days he starts again his salah will not be accepted for 40 days. If he does tawbah, Allah will accept his tawbah. But if he starts again and relapses, then Allah will not accept his tawbah, and Allah will make him drink from Radghatul Khabal, which we just mentioned. One hadith said, whoever drinks alcohol intoxicant in dunya will not drink it in akhirat. Meaning, even if he is a Muslim and he goes to Jannat, he will get the other sharbats, drinks, but he won't get the wine of Jannat. Because he took the wine over here in dunya, he will be deprived of that. His Jannat will have other 3 rivers, but he won't have the wine river in his Jannat. He will be deprived of it. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, stay away from wine, because the sin of the wine and alcohol goes up and covers all other sins, just like the plant of the grape. It just moves and covers the whole area in the vineyard. So it covers other sins as well. Meaning, in one hadith he said, Al-khamru jima'ul ithmi. The khamr, an intoxicant alcohol, it is a collection of all sins. It gathers other sins as well. When you are drunk, as we said, you swear, you fight, you commit zina, you fornicate, you kill, you murder, you rape, and you do all sorts of other stuff. You steal from people under the influence of the alcohol. So khamr collects other sins as well. So Huzur says, stay away from khamr. Stay well away from khamr. So the sins which are connected to khamr are far greater than the benefit. This is وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِن نَفْعِهِمَا. Now, this is the second verse revealed regarding khamr. Sahaba got the hint that Allah doesn't like khamr, and many stopped drinking it and they avoided it. Then Sometime later, one incident happened, due to which Allah revealed the verse in Surah An-Nisa, 5th Sipara, 4th Ruku. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf and some other friends were gathered in a dawat uh, function at one of the Sahaba's house, and they drank because there was no hurmat of alcohol at the time. Then it was Maghrib time, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf stood up to lead the Salah. And after Surah Fatiha, because he was under the influence of alcohol, he read Surah Kafirun ulti pulti. He read Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun a'budu ma ta'budun wa antum 'abidun ma a'budu wa ana 'abidu ma 'abadtum wa antum 'abidun ma a'bud lakum dinukum waliya din. He wiped out la. So ulta meaning ho gaya. The nafi and negation became isbat and positive. Meaning, I worship what you worship what I worship, and I will worship what you are worshipping, and you will worship what I am worshipping. Instead of la abudu, I do not worship what you worship, and you do not worship whom I worship, and I will not worship whom you are worshipping, and you will not worship whom I am worshipping. So he changed the meaning altogether. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayat, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la taqrabu salata wa antum sukara hatta ta'lamu ma taqulun. E iman walo, do not come near salat when you are drunk until you know fully well what you are saying. So after that, they gave up drinking alcohol before namaz time, and whoever wanted to drink it, they would drink it later on at night after Isha. So by Fajr, their intoxication would subside. Now, then another fourth incident happened, upon which a fourth verse was revealed. And on another occasion, Itban ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu invited some Sahaba for dinners. Among those Sahaba were a mixture of Ansar and Muhajirin. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu was a Muhajir among them. And he started mentioning some fada'il of Ansar. Some fada'il of Muhajiri. And he said some criticism about Ansar. Now one of the Ansari Sahabi got angry, and there was a jaw of a camel which had been slaughtered for feeding them. He took that bone of jaw and hit it on Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas' head, and he was injured and he started bleeding, and they didn't realize what was going on. And then after the fighting was over, Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam was informed that this is what happened last night. So they had drunk, and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas was drunk at that time, and the others were also under the influence. This is why they started fighting. Otherwise, they wouldn't fight like that. Ansar Muhajirin had so much love for one another, but under the influence of alcohol, this fight erupted, and one Sahabi from the Ansar injured Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, who said certain things under the influence of alcohol. So now Allah revealed the ayat of Surah Ma'idah in the 7th Sipara, 2nd Ruku. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansabu wal azlamu rizqum min amali shaytan fajtanibuhu la'allakum tuflihun. إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة فهل أنتم منتهون. Now, when the first ayat was revealed, this one, Ismuhuma akbaru min naf'ihima, Hazrat Umar was making dua, Allahumma bayyin lana fil khamri bayanan shafiya. Allah give us a clear-cut instruction regarding khamr. So Allah revealed the La taqrabu salat wa antum sukara. Again Hazrat Umar said, Allahumma bayyin lana fil khamri bayanan shafiya. Allah give us a clear-cut instruction about wines and intoxicants. Then this incident happened, And now came the hurmat, and Hazrat Umar was relieved. Alhamdulillah, hurmat agi. So after that, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent an announcement. Allah said, "Ey iman walo, innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansabu wal azlam." Intoxicants, gambling, and these idols, and the arrows by which you try to find out your destiny and future, taqdeer, rijisun, they are filth, min amali shaitan, handicraft of shaitan, fajtanibu, therefore stay away from them, la'allakum tuflihun, then you will be successful. Innama yuridu shaitan an yuqi'a bainakum al-adawa, shaitan wants to create enmity among you, wal baghdha, and hatred in your hearts, fil khamri wal maisir, wa yasuddakum an zikrillah, through khamr and maisir, he wants to stop you and prevent you from zikrullah. Wa anis salah, he wants to prevent you from salat. Fahal antum muntahun, are you then going to stop? There are 10 indications in there for the hurmat of khamr and maisir. So Sahaba understood, and Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, Intahina, 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 intahina. We have stopped, we have stopped, we have stopped, we have stopped. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent out an instruction, by khamr has been made haram. So Sahaba immediately threw away all the intoxicants which they had, all the wine, beer, whatever they had, whether it was made from grapes, or whether it was made from khajur, or whether it was made from barley or other materials, honey, every intoxicant. And some Sahaba, Anas ibn Malik says that Abu Talha, my stepfather, and his friends were together, and they were enjoying a drink, and the announcement was made by the announcer sent by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ala innal khamra qad hurrimat, Ala innal khamra qad hurrimat. Listen carefully, khamr has been made haram, khamr is haram. And Abu Talha said, oh Anas, take all those khamr, carriers and matkas or pitchers, mashkiza, and throw them. And everybody threw them away. And the streets of Medina were, flowing with wine and khamr. And for a good few days, the smell of khamr kept coming out from the earth until it dried away and the smell went. And some people took them to a special area and threw them away over there. Now, Tafsir Majidi states that when this Mumana'at was revealed, the Jews of Medina were really frustrated because they were the main sellers of liquor. Liquor trade was in their hands. And when Sahaba threw everything away, their trade collapsed. You see, this is the effect of boycott. Boycott karo. Coca-Cola boycott, Palestini ke liye. तो ये खत्म हो गया ट्रेड. तो ये है कि खम्र की हुर्मत इस आयत के जरिए आ गई और फिनिश. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent message out, khamr is haram. Someone came after a few days, he said, I imported some khamr for the property of some yatims and orphans. What shall I do with it? Can I sell it and give the money to them? He said, nope, can't sell it. The being who made khamr, drinking khamr haram, has also made selling it haram too. So you can't drink it, you can't sell it either. Throw it away. So he threw it all away. In the beginning, someone asked, can I make vinegar from the khamr? Huzur said, no, you can't make vinegar from it either. Throw it away. Later on, when the hurmat of khamr sank into their hearts and minds, and they got that nafrat and dislikeness of khamr, he allowed takhleel al-khamr, making vinegar from the khamr. In the beginning, some people asked about those containers in which khamr was made. He said, throw them away. Don't, let alone making khamr in them, don't make nabis or juice in them either. Because there is the smell of khamr still in there. And you might feel like going back to that khamr. So he said, don't make nabis in there either. Later on, he said, now it's set, so you can use those containers in whatever way you want. So in the beginning, he had to be strict to enforce the qanun. But then you see The hukum came gradually. This is why Tafseer Ma'ariful Quran states over here that you have to prepare the community for social change. And if they are not prepared, they will not accept that change. Here, even the Sahaba, so much devotion and their obedience to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Huzur did not give them the hukum of sharab is haram on the first day in Makkah Mukarramah when La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah was revealed. Otherwise, nobody would have, obeyed. They would have said, "Oh, yaar, ye to pehle hi din se sharab haram kar diya." No, Ahkam Islam came gradually. Even the Ahkam of Saum and Zakat, etc., also came gradually. The only hukum in Makkah Mukarramah for 13 years was namaz, Iman and namaz, Salat. There was no Saum. Saum came after Hijrat in Medina Sharif. Zakat came after Hijrat in the second year in Medina Sharif. Hajj came later on in the year 6 or year 8 after Hijrah when Makkah was conquered. So these ahkam came slowly, and hurmat as well. The hurmat of khamr came slowly as a gradual process. If we don't bring these social changes gradually and try to bring them suddenly, we will not succeed. Hazrat mentions over here in Tafsir Ma'ariful Quran that compare this to the attempt of prohibition made in the United States with the support of experts, lobbies, law, media, constitutional amendment, which failed in the face of much increased use of liquor, making the authorities cancel their plans. What is the secret behind this enormous difference? In fact, Hazrat mentioned somewhere that in the 1920s and 30s, they did bring an alcohol ban in the United States, in some of the states of California and elsewhere. However, there was huge outcry and demonstrations and marches and vandalism, and the government had to give in and they had to allow alcohol back in the society. So you can't just make sudden change overnight. You have to bring the social changes gradually. You have to prepare the community to accept those changes. And we see this, when these people, they want to bring some change, they slowly bring it. Capitalism, is very clever, capitalists, right? If, let's say, for example, when we go shopping, carrier bags. Before, carrier bags were free. But they wanted people to pay for the carrier bags. So what do? They don't just say from now on you have to pay. They brought this, but then they failed and they had to start carrier bags again. So then they brought a gradual process. They made mentality of the whole country that these carrier bags are harmful for the society, and people use them, they throw things in there, and plastic remains in the ground for so many years. And we can't bring these fillings, so you have to use paper bag or you have to reuse the bag. And then slowly they introduced 2p for a bag, and then they increased it to 5p and then 10p, and now Asda में जाएंगे तो 40-50p की तो बैग ही होगी, तो पैसे बनाना शुरू कर दिया. So they made people's mind slowly, and in everything, right, like this, whatever laws they want to bring, they work and gradually they bring it. If you want to bring some change in, you have to do it gradually, get the public ready to accept it, and then do it. This is the strategy that Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam took with regards to this what you call prohibition of khamr. Second, over here, Tafsir Majidi states with regards to khamr. Let me just read from here what Hazrat says. Khamr is any intoxicating thing that clouds or obscures, covers the intellect, and has a common application to intoxicating compressed of juice of anything. LL. So the term wine here is a synonym for all intoxicating drinks. The Jews of the Prophet's time were hard hit by the Quranic prohibitions, since the liquor trade was largely in their hands. And it is amusing to find a modern representative of that worthy race with pretension to Islamic learning and scholarship narrate the incident with bewailing and sneering ill-concealed. Hazrat mentioned a paragraph from Margulioth Muhammad, page 283, regarding this. He writes, sneering and ill-concealed, hatred for Islam and the liquor prohibition. When the revelations came, zealous followers went round the houses of the Muslims and emptied their vessels of all liquor which was supposed to be intoxicating. This is a lie. Sahaba did not go around confiscating. Those who had the liquor, they themselves threw it. And he's saying that they went around and breaking vessels, right, of other people. In many cases, breaking the vessels themselves and trading Muslims who brought wine home from Syria after this event were compelled to pour their earnings away. ये भी गलत है. They weren't compelled. They did it on their own accord with mashwara of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nor was milder treatment meted out to those orphans whose property had been invested by their guardians in wine. The prohibition was extended to vinegar made of wine, and a categorical denial was given to the suggestion that wine had medical value. So this is what they wrote with regards to khamr. Hazrat says that this is for khamr. Naf'ihima, Hazrat writes, alcohol's most useful sphere of action is as a solvent in industrial concerns. It has also some uses as an external application. And akbaru min naf'ihima, it has little bit of benefit in it, but the benefit is very little in comparison to the harms that are in it. Second thing is wal maisir. They ask you about maisir. Over here in Tafsir Ma'ariful Quran, both are mentioned. The good in wine is popularly known as a certain taste and a feeling of well-being, professed increase of temporary energy, and a given glow on the face. Being transient, these benefits hardly stand against the array of evils it breeds. Take the human body first. Drinking causes malfunction of the stomach, reduces the desire to eat, affects facial contours, inflates the waistline, harms the liver and the kidney, and becomes a contributor to all sorts of diseases. Reason, meaning akkal, does not work under the influence of hard drinks, which goes beyond the time one claims to have become sober. The hangover turns out to be as bad. Wine, a tempting stimulant and a much romanticized poison, works slowly. In spite of the spirited defense put by its users, the fact is that drinking not only harms them but affects their children as well. Socially, drinking may become the cause of mutual malice and enmity, which is a great evil in the sight of Islamic law. It is for this reason that the Holy Quran particularly mentions this evil in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Al-Adawata wal-Baghdha'a fil khamri wal-maisir wa yasuddakum an dhikrillah. One of the most harmful drawbacks of drinking shows up when a person under its influence lets out his guarded secrets. It becomes much more disastrous if the culprit happens to be a state functionary in possession of vital government secrets. Passing these out to an enemy agent can cause great damage to the state through a coup, a political loss, or a challenge to national defense. Clever spies are always on the lookout for such opportunities. So, the habit of drinking is not only an evil in itself, but a mother of other evils, as well as making men ready to commit the worst possible crimes against their fellow beings. The physical evils of drinking are too well known to recount here, while its spiritual evils are equally obvious. Wine is harmful because the Holy Quran says, وَيَصُدَّكُمْ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَعَنِ الصَّلَاةِ. It prevents you from remembering Allah and from the Salah. Then the question asked by the Holy Quran, would you then desist? Would you then stop? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used these words for prohibition of wine, alcohol, intoxicants. Second thing here is al-maisir. They ask you about maisir. What does maisir mean? The root word of maisir is yusr. And yusr means easy. So maisir means easy money. Gambling. Gambling, you buy national lottery ticket for £1 and you win £1,000,000. Now you would not have earned £1,000,000 if you worked your socks off for your whole life. But in one day, with one ticket, you become 1,000,000 owner. Now where does those 1,000,000 come from? Even if it's not 1,000,000, 100,000, 50,000, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, whatever amount you win, where does the amount come from? It doesn't come from the national lottery. Is the whole country's money put into one pot? Everybody in the country gives their money, their hard-earned money, and the national lottery contractors, they take the big chunk out of it and they give few pennies to the winners. Otherwise, it goes in their cost and the CEO and chairman and everything for their cost. So, maisir means trying to win some money in an easy way. Tafsir Majidi has explained it beautifully. Maisir, originally the game or play with unfeathered and headless arrows, is in wider acceptance as here any game of hazard or play of stakes or wagers, so that even the game of children with walnuts is included under this by Mujahid. It may shortly be defined as wagering money or other valuable things like gold, silver, jewelry upon the outcome of an event, or making money on some chance. The diffusion of both in the past and present of the practice of gambling may be gauged from a perusal of the following. Games of chance are as old as the widespread as widespread as humanity. The Greeks already in Homer had their knuckle bones marked with numbers on four sides to serve as dice. Among the Romans, children played at the heads or tails with coins. The Israelites used the drawing of lots to ascertain the divine will in regards to such matters of assignation of lands, choice of the offer, determining the rotation of office, or to identify an offender. The gambling habit infected the purity of the early Christians. Instruments of gambling are found in their tombs. On the Aryan races, gambling has had special hold. ERE, volume 5, page 163-64. Another quote, Hazrat narrates, the extent to which gambling prevails at the present time is difficult to assess. Now, Hazrat Maulana Abdul Majid Daryabadi died in 1973. So he's writing this before that in the 1960s, 50s and 60s, right? He's saying the extent to which gambling prevails at present time is difficult to assess. Most of it is centered in the horse racing. On the whole, it may safely be asserted that little short of £1,000,000 changes in the hands every year in England in connection with gambling transactions. Despite laws against gambling in most states and territories, it is continued openly in various sections until New York in 1881 to 1884 launched an anti-gambling drive which was copied by many other cities. However, gambling is still prevalent undercover. This is narrated from another page 826. Then writes, and what shall one say of the Derby horse race in England? वो डार्बी में हॉर्स रेस अभी जो होता है यूटॉक्सटेटर और डार्बी में हजरत 1950 60s में उसको लिख रहे हैं उस वक्त में ये हॉर्स रेस ऐसे ही चालू था सेम what can be said about the Derby horse race in England and of the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby races in America? See also some reference page 30 to 39. So side by side with the betting odds and betting tips, the newspapers record the tragic results on those who yield to the temptations. In 13 years, 1895, 96 to 1906, 1907, there were 156 suicides or attempted suicides in England assigned to this case of gambling, as well as 719 cases of theft or embezzlement and 442 bankruptcies. ये कब की बात हो रही है 1895 से 1905 तक ये तो 2023 है और गैम्बलिंग बेट 65 की एडवर्टाइज आती रहती है फुटबॉल में हैं बेट 365 और लैडब्रोक्स एंड ओ ला द गैम्बलिंग इंडस्ट्री इज सो राइफ पीपल लूज एवरीथिंग अब तो मिलियंस नहीं बिलियंस में गैम्बलिंग जाता है some time ago Wayne Rooney we heard about him he lost 700,000 pounds in gambling. Rio Ferdinand he lost maybe $500,000 to $1 million in gambling. Football players. And in cricket there's match fixing and there's gambling. Players they tell their family members to gamble and then they lose the game so their family members can win and they can share the profit and the win. And this happened in everything, in football, in cricket, in rugby, in boxing, in racing, horse racing, and in tennis and table tennis and every game, Olympics. You know, even people gamble on babies to be born. When Prince William's wife Katie was going to have a baby, there was gambling going on. Will it be a boy or a girl? And people are gambling for that. And they're wasting money on that. So this gambling nature is ajeeb. If you go down that route, you're gone. किसी को gambling की आदत पड़ गई, habit हो गई, there's no turning back. It's impossible to give up this habit. You have to go through a vigorous क्या कहते हैं training or therapy to give up that gambling habit. Just like in khamr as well. An alcoholic has to go, क्या बोलते हैं, rehabilitation center. A druggie has to go to that rehabilitation center. And most druggies, you know, bichare, may Allah have mercy on them, they end up, you know, relapsing, going back to their old ways after some time. So don't go down that route. Once you go, there's no turning back. This is why Allah is saying, Ismuhuma akbaru min naf'ihima. Gambling and wine, alcohol, intoxicants, their harm is much, much more greater than the benefit. You might win a little bit of money in gambling, but you lose a lot. You know, before we used to have bingos, and the old Buddhis, they used to go regular bingo on Friday night, Saturday night. In our neighborhood, there was this Buddhi, and they used to go every day on Dean Road. Ye jo chai wala hai, it was a bingo center. So they used to go gambling there every day. Every Friday, Saturday. And bichara, they used to take 10, 20 pounds at that time, never won anything. हमेशा पूरा अब एक दफे जो है वो जीत गए कुछ आयो पता नहीं 200-400 पाउंड बहुत खुश हो मैं जीत गया अरे पूरी जिंदगी इतना पैसा वेस्ट किया वो नहीं दिखता है एक दफे जीता उसमें खुश हो रहा है तो ये है कि गैम्बलिंग जो है बहुत बुरी हैबिट है और उसमें और अगर कोई मालदार आदमी है और लास वेगस के कसिनो में चला गया तो गया काम से क्योंकि उस कसिनो में सिर्फ गैम्बलिंग नहीं है उसमें शराब भी है اس میں زنا بھی ہے، اس میں ڈرٹی فلتھی ایکٹس اور ہیبٹس بھی ہیں، یو نیم اٹ، اٹس آل دیئر. اینڈ اس میں پھر یہ بھی ہے، فائٹس بھی ہیں، وار بیٹلز بھی ہیں. اگر آپ ہار گئے اور آپ نے پیسے نہیں دیے تو یو گون. If you don't pay for it, then یہ آپ کے پیچھے آئیں گے ہٹ مین، ختم کر دیں گے، لائف لے لیں گے، تمہاری مار ڈالیں گے، قتل کر دیں گے. تو یہ سب قرآن پاک جو ہے، سب سے پہلا جو حکم آیا تھا اس بارے میں کیا آیا تھا؟ فیما قل فیہما اسم کبیر ومنافع للناس. بہت بڑا گناہ ہے، بہت بڑا گناہ ہے، بہت بڑا گناہ ہے، تھوڑا سا فائدہ ہے. اور عقل مند آدمی وہ گناہ کو دیکھے گا، تھوڑے سے فائدے کو نہیں دے گا. بس اس کو ہم یہاں پر سٹاپ کرتے ہیں. حضرت مولانا عبد الماجد صاحب نے جو بات کہہ دی وہی کافی ہے. حضرت مفتی صاحب نے بھی اس میں بہت کچھ لکھا ہے. ہاں، prohibition of gambling, social ill effects of gambling, اور some juristic rules and related notes. I think I'll do this next week. ابھی اور اس میں ہے، یہاں سے بھی ایک حاشیہ بھی پڑھنا ہے تفسیر عثمانی سے. we'll cover that next week. آج کے لیے اتنا ہی کافی ہے. ٹھیک ہے جی، صرف اتنا. يسألونك عن الخمر والمیسر. They ask you regarding intoxicants and gambling. Say, O Muhammad, in both there is a great sin and a little bit of benefit for people. However, the sin of them is greater than their benefit. We'll continue next week if Allah wills. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلی اللہ وسلم علی سیدنا محمد وآلہ وصحبہ اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین. سبحانک اللہم وبحمدک نشہد ان لا الہ الا انت نستغفرک ونتوب الیک. اللہم لک الحمد ولک الشکر. اللہم لا نحصی ثناء علیک انت کما اثنیت علی نفسک. اللہم صلی علی سیدنا محمد النبی الامی وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وسلم تسلیما. پروردگار عالم، آپ کی مہربانی، آپ نے قرآن شریف پڑھنے، پڑھانے، سمجھانے کی توفیق عطا فرمائی. آپ کا ہم شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں. ہمارا زبان شکر قبول فرما لیجئے. ہمیں قرآن پاک کی سمجھ عطا فرمائیے. قرآن پاک کو پڑھنے، سمجھنے، اس پر عمل کرنے، اس کی نشر و اشاعت کرنے کی توفیق نصیب فرمائیے. آج کے سبق میں شراب اور جوئے کے متعلق جو باتیں کہی گئی اس پر عمل کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. شراب سے بھی ہماری نسلوں کی، ہمارے متعلقین کی، سب کی حفاظت فرمائیے. ڈرگز سے بھی حفاظت فرمائیے، جوا اور گیمبلنگ سے بھی حفاظت فرمائیے، ہر قسم کے فواحش اور منکرات سے حفاظت فرمائیے. جو بیچارے اس کے چکر میں پھنس گئے ہیں انہیں توبہ کرنے کی توفیق نصیب فرمائیے. پروردگار عالم، پوری امت کے حال پر رحم فرمائیے. پوری امت کو ان چیزوں سے توبہ نصیب فرمائیے. یا اللہ، امت ان چیزوں میں، شراب میں، ڈرگز میں، گیمبلنگ میں پھنس جاتی ہے، پھر دشمن مسلط ہو جاتے ہیں اور حملہ کر کے مسلمانوں کا صفایا کر دیتے ہیں. مسلمانوں کو اس کی سمجھ عطا فرمائیے. ایسی بری عادتوں سے توبہ کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. نمازوں کا اہتمام نصیب فرمائیے. ذکر فکر تسبیح تلاوت والی زندگی نصیب فرمائیے. صوم و صلاۃ کی پابندی نصیب فرمائیے. تقوی اور پرہیزگاری اور خوف خدا نصیب فرمائیے. ہمارے حال پر رحم فرمائیے. فلسطین کے حال پر خصوصی رحم فرمائیے. وہاں کے مسلمانوں کی جان، مال، عزت، آبرو، اولاد، دین، ایمان کی حفاظت فرمائیے. شہیدوں کی مغفرت کر کے درجات بلند فرمائیے. پسماندگاں کو صبر جمیل عطا فرمائیے. زخمیوں کے لیے علاج معالجہ کے اسباب نصیب فرمائیے. اور یا اللہ، جو بیچارے بڑے بوڑھے ہیں اور معذور ہیں، بیمار ہیں، ان کو شفا عطا فرمائیے. جو بے گھر ہو گئے ہیں، گھروں سے نکال دیے گئے محض ربنا اللہ کہنے کی وجہ سے، ان کی زمینوں پر قبضے کر لیے گئے، ان کی بلڈنگیں سسٹمیٹکلی ڈیمولش کر دی گئی. یا اللہ، ظلم کرنے والوں کے حق میں ہدایت ہے تو نصیب فرما دیجیے. ان کو ظلم سے روک دیجیے. اگر ان کے حق میں ہدایت نہیں ہے تو ایک ایک ظالم بدماش بندے کو، لچے لفنگے کو اللہ چن چن کر ختم فرمائیے. ان کے ناپاک وجود سے اس دھرتی کو پاک فرمائیے. یا اللہ، خبیث ظالم پر اپنا قہر اور غضب نازل فرمائیے اور ان کے شر سے مسلمان اور غیر مسلم سب کی حفاظت فرمائیے. ہمارے ٹوٹی پھوٹی دعائیں قبول فرمائیے. جو حضرات دعا میں شامل ہیں، ہر ایک کے دل میں جو بھی جائز مقصد اور نیک دلی تمنا ہے اس میں کامیابی عطا فرمائیے. ہر خیر سے مالا مال فرمائیے، ہر شر سے حفاظت فرمائیے. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم وصلی اللہم وسلم علی سیدنا محمد وآلہ وصحبہ اجمعین برحمتک.